of Health book, I want to say in December, and she's already finished it. So tell us, like, what has been the biggest takeaway?
Yeah, I am a huge fan of nutrition, and I'm a big fan of science. And I'm a public health major right now. And one of the last classes I took was actually research methods, which they normally make you take when you're getting your master's degree, but they decided to start making students take it when they're undergrads. And so I did so much research and learned how to analyze scientific articles and learned how to read them. And so when I started reading Habits of Health, Tony was telling me about how there's a lot of research and science based, and I was like, yeah, whatever. But as I've been reading through Habits of Health, I cannot believe how many scientific articles are in the back of the book and how much research went into this. And I've actually looked up several of the articles and analyzed them just like I would if I was in my class. And this is legit stuff. This is not just Dr. A just pulling all of this out of a hat and putting it into a book. This is sound science based on habits, healthy habits. I cannot stop talking about it to everybody around me. I'm pretty sure everybody's tired of it, but I've just been blown away by the factual scientific aspect of this program and book. So.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing. And I just wanted to add a few more that have been put in the chat. Claire mentioned her health has improved. She's lost 50 pounds, congratulations, and no longer pre-diabetic. That's huge. That's an awesome win. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen here. We are so excited and welcome you to Healthy Together time tonight. As we get started, one thing that we always like to cover, and this is a review for many of you because this program is something that you're familiar with, but we always like to start with just a refresher of the 4 components that our system offers. And one of those is everyone with our program receives a coach. And your coach is basically your guide to the resources. And they're your sounding board of what you're learning as they check in with you once a week with a quick 5-minute call. We also have our Habits of Health transformational system. This is one of the books that Molly just mentioned. So she finished reading all of Dr. A's Habits of Health book. And it has a companion guide called your life book, which allows you to journal in there your journey as you're going through this process. And these books are designed to help, this whole system is designed to help you create habits that stick. Our bodies will always match up to where our mind is set. And that's why the education piece is so key for lifelong transformation. We also have our community. We love to surround you with others who are moving forward in your health. Tonight's webinar is a great example of how we come together often to participate in this community. And then we also have our nutrition plans, which have, you know, years of clinical research from Johns Hopkins and the National Institutes of Health. And like Molly was saying, this is coming from sound medical science. So great transformation system that we have here. Now for tonight's topic, if you happen to have your life book, or more importantly, your Habits of Health book handy, please grab it and open up with us to pages 76 and 77. This is what we're talking about tonight. And we're excited to present this topic to you. It's about the stages of change. So this is a health behavior change model that I remember learning about not only as an undergrad student, but as a graduate student. I studied public health. And this is one of the many behavior change models that we learned, because this is how behavior change takes place. And they've studied it, and they've found that typically people will go through these 6 different stages with their motivation and as they're changing the behavior. And I want to welcome Joy Johnson, who has agreed to help with describing these different stages of change. I love how in your Habits of Health book, Dr. A has related this health behavior change model to our journey, because it relates so well. And Joy's here tonight to share with us how her journey has gone through each stage of this stages of change. So Joy, I'll mute myself and you can go ahead.
Awesome. Thanks, Tony. Tony's the best coach ever, by the way. So I am just so excited to talk about the stages of changes because this really hits home for me. I've had a lot of interesting experiences lately and have gotten to really reflect on these change stages. Um, so I found out about this program just about a year ago, January 20th last year. I met Tony and I'll talk a little more about that, but 135 pounds later, lots have changed for me since that time I met Tony a year ago. Lost, I guess I should specify, I lost 135 pounds, not gained since I met you. So the first stage that I'm going to share with you guys is called the pre-contemplation stage. So this is the stage I thrived in for most of my life. This is the not ready stage. There's a couple of pictures of my family, my husband with my oldest son, me and my sister and my sister-in-law. And at this point, I was not ready for change. I didn't want change. I didn't want to hear anything about anything having to do with health or change. Some things that were happening in my life back then. I had massive acid reflux to the point where it would wake me up in the middle of the night choking, and that was while being on a lot of medications. My family and we would go cheese tasting every weekend. That was like our thing. I was a self-proclaimed foodie, and our family time revolved around food. And so I wasn't ready for change in this stage. The next stage is stage 2. This is the contemplation stage. So this is when we are just thinking about improving and changing unhealthy behaviors. So in this picture, I had just met Tony, and I was a public health major, getting my bachelor's degree, and I was looking for an internship. And because of the pandemic, it needed to be a online internship. So I found this internship with Optavia, and I was like having no part of it. I knew what it was. I was not ready. I didn't want to get healthy. I didn't want to stop cheese tasting. And I started applying and working my tail off, applying for like 50 other internships, anything else but this. I knew I didn't want to do this. And destiny saw something different for me. And so I started this internship a year ago, and I needed 200 hours to complete this internship. My mindset was not changing, but my desire and my willingness was starting to change. So the next phase is stage 3, and this is called the preparation stage. So this is when we move from just thinking about something to action. And at this point, I had started the program, and very unwillingly, by the way, I was like, so skeptical. I've tried everything else. Nothing's going to work, but whatever, I'll just do it because I have to get my bachelor's degree. And at this point, I had already started losing weight in these pictures here. In preparing, I started writing out my why. Why I wanted change, why I wanted to get healthy, and what that looked like. And one thing that really drove me to preparing was this conversation I had with Tony at the very beginning. And she was asking me if I was ready and prepared. And she asked me what my goal weight was. And so she said, what does your life look like a year from now? So picture yourself down 100 pounds at your next Christmas dinner. And that was like, I can't picture that. That's not even attainable. That's not possible. Well, I was 135 pounds down by Christmas. So it really blew my expectations. And I never thought that would even be possible. But I started really kind of thinking about what if this is possible? I'm going to start doing this. So that led me into stage 4. Stage 4 is the action phase. And this is where we're installing habits of health in a series of small habits. So during my internship, I realized I had been doing things really wonky my whole life. And I had this health goal. We had to create these health goals, it was to exercise every day. And I couldn't just go from morbidly obese and my doctor recommending surgery and having being pre-diabetic. I couldn't just go from that to hiking every day and running. So I needed to create these micro goals and these micro habits, which was to put on my shoes. So I knew if I put on my shoes, if I was willing to get down and put those on and tie some laces, I was going to go out and walk. Sometimes that meant walking for, a block, and it hurt. It was hard. And sometimes it meant 2 blocks. But I was moving and I was changing. These pictures, the one in Hawaii, this is when I had just graduated and completed this internship and got my bachelor's degree. And so I took myself to Hawaii as a celebration. And I didn't have to wear a special seatbelt on the airplane, by the way. That was like this huge victory for me. I have pictures of that, like, congratulations to myself. I don't have to wear one of those extenders. So yeah, that was not fun. This other picture is me hiking. So this is something that I've really stuck with. Almost every day I hike or do some kind of exercise, but hiking is like my jam. I love it. And I was way up in a mountain, somewhere that I would have never been able to get even halfway up before doing this program. So the next stage is stage 5. And this is the maintenance stage. So this stage here is when we have habits now and they are becoming more automatic. So for me, eating healthy, eating 6 times a day, small meals, drinking water, getting proper sleep and nutrition, exercising every day, these were all becoming just automatic habits for me. The middle picture is on Halloween. So I wanted this dress, but I was too embarrassed to buy it. I normally wore like toilets or something really big and bulky for Halloween. And my husband said, absolutely not. You worked way too hard to be a toilet for Halloween. You are going to wear that dress proud. And I did, and I almost put a jacket on, and he wouldn't let me. So this is Halloween, and the other picture is me and my kids hiking around. So the next stage, this is a hard stage because this is really fresh for me, but this is stage 6. This is the relapse stage. So December, I should just leave it at December because that's when it all hit. So I have been working so hard for a year, feeling so confident, like I got this. I've been coaching for a year now. And sometimes I talk to clients and I'm like, just eat the food, just do it. Well, December hit and I really just was humbled. I had a lot of stress hit all in 1 month. My parents who live in another state, my poor dad fell and got staples to the head. So I ran out to another state to check on him, came home the next week. I got another call from the hospital that he fell again and got a fracture, brain bleed. So I went back out there and brought him back home to live with us for a while. My mom has Alzheimer's, my dad has dementia. And it was a rough couple of weeks. And I didn't manage that stress well. And then another few weeks later, I got another call from the hospital that my dad had had a stroke while driving. So I ran back up to Nevada and I didn't handle that stress well. So my ways of coping with stress previously, before this program, was to eat a lot of sugar, a lot of it. And I found myself going right back into those same habits that I thought I had totally worked out of. But when massive stress came, that's where I went. I ended up in the emergency room after bringing my parents back here. Their cat bit me and I got cat scratch fever, of all things. And so I spent Christmas Day and the next day in the hospital, trying to not lose my finger. But I funded a cookie store just myself by going to this cookie store. And it was so shameful for me as a coach. It was hard for me to fess up to my clients because I felt like I had to. And it was really frustrating. And it was not a average, it was not a, 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 it situation where I would eat so much that I would end up puking. That's how extreme things were getting. And it was scary for me. I felt out of control and really frustrated. And so I had this relapse, and you'll be happy to know last week, I've been doing great. I've learned a ton in this stage, and it was what I needed to learn. And that was that we are all human. We're all imperfect. This is just a journey. And I had to really dig deep and look back at my why and what I wanted. And was this taking me there? Were these boxes and boxes of cookies taking me there? And I didn't want to feel sick anymore and frustrated. And so just the other night, we had another stressful situation happen. And I was like beelining to anywhere and anywhere, everywhere that was open that had sweets. And this was just a couple of nights ago. And as I was driving, I was trying to remember everything I've been learning in this program and the stop, challenge, choose, and self-talk, and how do I want to feel at the end of the night. And I decided I wanted to feel good, and I didn't want to throw up. I wanted to feel good about myself. And I was able to work through that moment, and I got home and I felt so good. And I was so grateful to have these tools to get through that. But I think the most important part was just realizing that we can't focus on the negative, that we focus on the positive so that we can work through these and get back into that maintenance phase. I'm super excited that I got to learn more about these changes. So thanks for letting me share this, Tony.
Yes, thank you so much for sharing with us your journey, and especially how it relates to these stages, because they are natural stages that happen for all of us. And the reason I wanted you to grab your book is because I want you to mark or somehow highlight the final paragraph under stage 6, where it talks about the growth mindset. And this is a piece that I love that Dr. Anderson talks about there. We don't look at these relapses or these steps we may take backwards on our journey as failures, because they're not. Instead, we look at them with natural curiosity to figure out why it happened and what we need to do to get better, because that's how we improve. Not with judgment, not with any blame, just focusing on learning the new habit. And so if you feel that urge to blame yourself or judge yourself harshly when because it's not a matter of if it's going to happen, it's a matter of when. It's all part of the learning process. And Dr. Anderson gives us a heads up about that in the beginning of your life book. He lets you know it's not going to be a perfect ride. So just know that that's part of the learning process. And we're developing a growth mindset. And so we wanted to leave you with an invitation. We have a challenge starting the last day of this month called Love Yourself to Health. And it's not like any other health challenge maybe that you've heard in the past. It's one of our most popular ones. It's all focused on mindset, not the scale, but this growth mindset of loving ourselves to better health, not judging ourselves harshly or blaming ourselves or doing it because we don't like how we look in the mirror. That sometimes gets us started, but it doesn't carry us very far. And so this challenge lasts 14 days. It'll end conveniently on Valentine's Day. And there will be great prizes, wonderful information. You've got a free app where you can access everything with the challenge. So we encourage you to reach out to the person who invited you to this webinar, your coach or anyone that told you about this webinar, and learn more about this challenge, because it's one that you don't want to miss. And with that, we just want to wrap up this first part and with a question. So I don't know how many of you know this, but did you know that Optavia is now a $1 billion brand and has affected over 2 million lives? We were named the second fastest growing company in the world by Fortune magazine back in the pandemic when it started in 2020. And we need more people who want to reach into their communities to affect change in the health of the world. We are going to end our call at this time with some basics about starting your own turnkey coaching business. It may or may not be for you, but you'll never know until you look a little closer at the details, right? Otherwise, thank you for joining us for Healthy Together time tonight, and we will see you next week.